With the recent news that Corey Koskie has been elected to the Twins Team Hall of Fame, Brandon told us the other day who he wants to see enshrined next. And now it's my turn. But I'm not telling you who until you get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to destination for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite of the Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. I'm co-host Dave Brown. I'm an MLB writer, a BBWAA member, and a Baseball Hall of Fame voter. Please follow me on Twitter at AnswerDaveBrown if you like. You can also find me on Blue Sky at AnswerDave, and I promise to post something one day soon. Across the cosmos is Brandon Warren, a one-time Twins beat reporter who has watched the club closely, very closely, for work and for leisure for 3 decades. Talk smack at Brandon_Warren on Twitter, or simply yodel Warren, yodel-hee-hoo on Blue Sky, and he'll come a-running. Here's what's coming up on this podcast. As I said, we're talking again about the Twins Team Hall of Fame. Corey Koskie is the newest member, and he will be inducted. I'm not sure if it's in July or August. I think August. I think there'll be a ceremony sometime this summer, and Corey Koskie will be there, and he'll be the new guy. And in the last episode, I think we were going to do one show, and then we kept finding people that kind of belong, and we think, in the Twins Hall of Fame. And Brandon did his guys, and they were who were they again? You tell us, Brandon. Shane Mack, right?
Shane Mack, Brian Dozier, and then the Soul Patrol outfield as a unit. We did dive into the idea of inducting teams and units and that sort of thing. So,
right.
By the way, August 17th at Target Field for Corey Koskie.
Right.
We always joke that Joe Mauer should have been inducted on April 3rd because that would be 4-3, which is how many where he always hit his ground balls to.
That's not nice.
No, but I mean that was
the guy.
Well, but that was coming from a section of the fan base that is convinced he was a bust, right. And they're crying in their Homer hankies over him getting inducted into the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown, which good for him.
Well, you're never gonna persuade them otherwise. So let them think what they want, I guess, and let them wallow in their misery. But hey, by the way, while we got you, Brandon, what who's paying for the show?
Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. $200 in bonus bets, so if that $5 bet hits, that's the best deal going today.
Well, Locked On Twins is talking Twins Team Hall of Fame and who we think, it's kind of a second episode of this, who we think should be in. Brandon did his guys, which included the neat idea of inducting the Soul Patrol, which was basically that was Torrey Hunter, Matt Lawton, and Jock Jones. And there were other iterations of it too. But, that sort of led me to think it would be really neat and I think a good idea for the Hall of Fame if they didn't put just individuals in, but put the 91 Twins in, or the 87 Twins, or the 65 Twins.
Yep.
Or maybe the 20, would that be 6 Twins? Or 2008? 2008.
For which thing?
For the team that came down to the last
game 163 was 09 because the Target Field opened in 10. So it was like the dying breath of Metrodome with baseball. They had the Vikings for a couple years after that, but it was bonus baseball at the Metrodome.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like that idea. I don't have anything. I've got 3 people, so it's a little different than Brandon's, but there were quite a few names. I think we could do like another show about the people that we hadn't talked about yet. Or maybe we'll talk about them in this episode. But
Yeah.
My first Twins Hall of Famer, I think is obvious and overdue. And I don't understand why it hasn't been done already. And it's not too late or anything, but he just basically retired again as a broadcaster. Roy Smalley. He played 10 years for the Twins. He made one All-Star team. He was typically a really good hitter for a shortstop, sort of like how Brian Dozier was. Toward the end of his career, he had some back problems, and his range wasn't what it was at the beginning, but he was a good defensive shortstop in his prime, better than good. And sometimes he hit very well too. He had kind of matinee idol looks. He's from Southern California. He's a second generation Major League Baseball player. He was a really good, and this is kind of a sub theme. He was a really good player for a number of years when the Twins didn't have a lot of other good players. He was what the late 70s Twins kind of had going for him. Although once in a while you'd have like John Castino or jump in there, or Ken Landreau retread or something. So can you see a time when Roy Smalley is in this group?
Yeah, I mean, the more I look into him and the more I kind of examine numbers, because he was, he played it the bulk of his career before I was even a glint in my father's eye. The numbers are definitely spectacular. I mean, he's a career. So Baseball Reference 4 has him at 27.9, which is a nice player, and 20.9 of those with the Twins. So, excuse me, 1,148 games with the Twins out of 1,653 games total. So again, bulk of his career started with Texas, but played basically the prime in Minnesota, shifted over to the Yankees, spent a little time with the White Sox, and then back to Minnesota to round it out. And kind of cool, a World Series with the Twins in that last year. He's mostly DH kind of type. I don't know. He played some infield, 5 2/3 innings at short that year, 89 innings at third, and then DH the rest of the time. So that's interesting, I guess. Being as aged or unaged as I am, I wasn't really sure how his defensive stuff bared out. I was kind of always under the impression that he was a DH that year, and more or less he was. But in general, very good hitter all around. The defensive numbers on Fangraphs, they really like his early part of his career. And kind of a fun little fact, he was traded by the Rangers to the Twins for Bert Blyleven, in addition to, Danny Thompson, who passed away not too long after. Kind of a sad story there. But there was like the Twins are famous for like their rain delay TV entertainment, and not for a good reason. It's like you'll get the Diamond Awards, which is the beginning of Twins Fest, but not part of Twins Fest. Again, back to the Twins Fest thing, and I apologize, but that's where they hand out all the awards for like organizations, minor league hitter and pitcher of the year and all that. Well, so that would be part of the rain delay fodder, and then also they would play, like Your Baseball Life, Bert Blyleven, Your Baseball Life, Roy Smalley, and I don't remember which of those two guys it was on there, but they were talking about like Bert Blyleven flipping off the crowd because they said bye-bye birdie to him. And I don't remember if that was, I think that might've been when he went from Texas to Pittsburgh, but I'm not sure exactly. But like, that was just part of the story, was like, oh yeah, I was traded for Bert Blyleven, and, just kind of a funny little thing. He owned a bar near Target Field when Target Field first opened, called the Smalley's
87 Club.
Smalley's 87 Club. Yep. And I'm not exactly sure where that was, because I didn't get down to Target Field that first year a whole lot and like explore. I was still kind of stick to my know where I'm going kind of thing downtown before I started working down there. But again, I'm getting off track. Roy as a player, yes, definitely makes sense on that 87 team, which I think should give him a nice little boost. And honestly, statistically, he's right there with a bunch of guys who are in and ahead of some guys. So I think it's a slam dunk, and could be as soon as next year. I think this is a good pull by you.
Smalley traded for Burt Blyleven on the way in. On the way out, traded for Greg Gagne.
How about that?
And that's what a just kind of a. It would, I guess, it would have been better had Blyleven also been a shortstop, but that doesn't quite work.
Also, Ron Davis, which woof.
Yes, Ron Davis was pretty good with the Twins, and then he went to the right, or was it
no 84? So I think he's the one that's kind of credited / demerited for the big issue in 84 when they fell by the wayside. He had all those young players. He lost 11 ball games, 29 saves, but 11 losses, 4.55 ERA, too many homers. I think he was just giving up a lot of big home runs, and people don't really. They've never really forgiven him for that. He's kind of like Emilio Pagan before Emilio Pagan, and also to Ike Davis's father, which is kind of cool.
For sure. And speaking of that, thanks for bringing that back. When Smalley came to the Twins, his uncle was the manager. Gene Mauch was the manager of the Twins, which I could not. That sounds to me like something that would be uncomfortable and I wouldn't want as a player. I don't want my uncle being the manager. It's like being the principal, like having a dad who's a principal or a mom,
like a Nepo baby situation.
Right. And Roy's dad played for the Cubs. I think he was, I want to say was he on the 45 Cubs that went to the World Series? I don't remember if he was that.
He was a nice player too, though. I mean, I don't know if he was better than his son. I'd say not particularly close, but no, he had a nice year in 1950 with the Cubs. He hit 21 homers and played good defense, but War didn't love him that much. So he was on the 48.
He was in between Korea and World War II. So
48 to 53, he was with the Cubs. Then in 54, he was with Milwaukee. I assume that's the Braves. And then after that, he was with the Phillies from 55 to 58, and that was a wrap. He was done by 32. Roy Smalley Jr. Was done by 34. So it's kind of wild that they both had shorter careers for whatever reason.
Twins, Roy Smalley, by the way, two-time NCAA champion with Rod Dedeaux and USC in the early 73, 74, I want to say.
Storied program.
Hey, in the questions that I should have asked you before we started recording, we got two commercial breaks or what? We got two
on this one, so we're going to dive into that first one here whenever you're ready.
Go.
I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. And one of my favorite memories was attending a concert just this last year. The energy and excitement were unforgettable at US Bank Stadium when I saw Metallica, Mammoth open for them. It was incredible. Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for tickets to an upcoming Timberwolves game using the Gametime app. With Gametime Picks, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before I bought. Plus, the super deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time.
We are back with Locked On Twins, and we've just decided that Roy Smalley belongs in the Twins Team Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
We've got two more names on this list, at least, that we'll talk about prominently. The second is Sam Mealy, who was the manager of the Twins in 1965 when they went to the World Series. The Twins had not been in Minnesota for that long at that point. They were the Senators before that, and they came over, and they were gaining some momentum, and they had some good teams. And I think Cookie Lavagetto was the manager before Sam. And reading about like how Sam became the manager, it was almost like it was interim and expected to be not forever. And also, it was supposed to be temporary because Billy Martin was on his staff, and there were other people like Johnny Sane was the pitching coach, and he had a very popular bunch of coaches.
Mhm.
And it was thought that Calvin Griffith was gonna this was temporary, and that Billy Martin was the fair-haired boy and was going to be the manager, which is kind of funny because when Sam eventually lost his job, Billy Martin was still on the staff, and they didn't make him the manager. He wasn't manager until when did he become manager? Like 69? Was it?
Yeah,
then? I don't remember.
The year that they won the West, the pennant in the West, but lost in the championship series
Right.
to the Orioles in 3 straight, which would have been the first year of divisional play, right?
Yes, that was the first year of division, 69.
Yeah, 97 wins, and all it got you was a tic-tac in the toe. The Orioles behind Dick Hall, Dave McNally, and Jim Palmer. 4-3, 1-0, and then 11-2 demoralizer at home. So not a great series.
Sam's been gone for a few years, meaning no longer with us, meaning he died.
Yeah.
I think he lived to be really old. He left in like 2017.
95.
I think was 95, right?
95 plus 100 days. So yeah, not a bad run.
See, this what Roy Smalley's going to get in. I can't imagine him not getting in. I don't think Sam is ever. I think Sam would have been in already had it was going to happen.
Really makes no sense though, because if a manager gets the Twins to the World Series in any way, shape, or form, to me, they should be in. But then you mention a little later in the decade in 69, they lose. So they don't make the World Series. They'll make the World Series in 70. They ran into some really crazy good Orioles teams. Almost unfair.
Yes.
But I'm not, I'm not pining for, Billy Martin to get in or anything like that. That's not going to happen. But I don't know. I mean, Mealy, he took over as interim manager halfway through that first year from Cookie Lavagetto, like you said. Managed for a while, had a nice run there, and got him to a World Series. To me, I mean, again, this is the Minnesota Twins. It's not the Yankees where you have like some obscene standards to hold up to. And again, I'm not trying to say that those standards are good, bad, or otherwise. But again, Mealy, for me, belongs. 546 career winning percentage.
Twins won.
He'd be in for me.
And it wasn't just the 102 wins in 65 and getting to the World Series. They won 91 games in 62, 91 games in 63, fell back in 64. Went to the World Series, won 102. In 66, they went 89 and 73.
Second place, though. I mean, and that's the hard thing is, these are back in the days when you could finish in 7th place and people wouldn't look at you cross-eyed.
Right. This was before divisions. So 66 and 67, one of the funkiest seasons in Major League history, where there were 4 teams, I believe. I think it was the White Sox, the Tigers, the Red Sox, and the Twins, who it went down to like the last day of the season. And
all separated by 3 games.
Sam wasn't there at the end of 67. He started 25 and 25, and Griffith's like, all right, you're out of here. It's almost like he was just he was waiting to fire Sam Mealy at the first opportunity.
Yep.
And what's funny about it, Sam, he was like in his late 30s, I think, when he started managing. He had a shortened career, a decent career as a hitter, as a player, and then he had a really successful career as a manager. Was fired at the first, and they didn't replace him with Billy Martin. They replaced him with Cal Ermer, who was the organizational guy, the guy at Denver at AAA.
Well, and so actually, when Curry Puckett was promoted from AAA Toledo, his manager was Cal Ermer.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if you
give you an idea of how long his
80
stretch.
So he was in the organization. Okay, so it doesn't let you search him year by year. Toledo, he managed Toledo through at least 85. And then, Charlie Manuel in 86. So
Funny.
kind of a fun little batch of managers there. But yeah, Cal Irmer, as I recall, because the story was that Kirby was on the East Coast and it had been raining for like 4 straight days and they hadn't played a game. And so he's just hanging out in his hotel room with his roomie, Tack Wilson, and got a call from Cal Irmer. Hey, kid, you're headed to Anaheim. And that's how I remember who Cal Irmer was. And that's how I remembered who the Brophy guy was. George Brophy is the scout who signed him, because that was in his book that I read when I was a kid about how came to see him play in college at Bradley or whatever it was.
So it was the circumstance with Sam Mealy. It was kind of like, all right, yeah, I guess you can manage for a while until we find somebody better. Then he does really well. Then they fire him at the first opportunity. He never managed again in the major leagues. He took a job as a scout, a prominent one, not a bird dog, but somebody in administration, basically cross-checker or what. I don't know if they called him those in those days.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm actually listening to $sign on the Muscle right now, and so all of this is like ringing in my ears. They're talking about all those roles, and so yeah,
right.
That's the third or fourth era. I can't remember. Anyway, sorry.
And he kept the job with the Red Sox for like almost 3 decades and never went back to the majors. It's just it's a funny career. And reading a Sabre bio of Mealy, he sounds like a real piece of work. He was described as kind of unassuming and quiet, but he uses Christ as an expletive about 7 times in this interview in Sabre. It's like, Christ, man. And so he's from New York, and heavy Italian kind of a thing going on. I would have liked to have talked to him, gotten to know him a little bit. So
yeah, no question.
It's just interesting to me how he had such a success. He was such a success as a manager, and then he never managed again. And he was still in his mid-40s when he was fired by the Twins. Very strange game.
Well, I mean, like Tom Kelly, when he retired, would have only been about 50.
Yeah,
his last year was 01.
He was born older though.
50,
he's like George Bailey.
Yeah, right. But he's like 50, and he's just been Tom Kelly ever since, doing his own thing. So I don't know.
Right. All right. We'll take our last break and get to our last guy.
Well, we got to show some love for FanDuel as we're coming up here on the big game. Super Bowl 59 is here. 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than FanDuel Sportsbook, because whether you're predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or if you want to get in on that coin toss betting action, and good for you if that's your thing, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on that action with live betting all game long, too. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. All the stuff that's going on between the commercials, FanDuel wants to take care of you. The live betting feature also lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. So the app also is super easy to navigate. Lots of options. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Plus, knowing that you can place that first $5 bet, and if it hits, you get $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl. Icing on the cake. That's the salsa on the nachos or sour cream on the nachos, whatever you want to call it, with your Super Bowl food prerogative. I'm cool with it. Download the app or head on over to FanDuel.com to get started. But again, bet $5, and if you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. That's all at FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official partner of Super Bowl 59. You're muted, Dave.
Yeah, I was doing Kaufman Stadium, so.
Oh, yeah. I got to pre-record that last ad. That's what probably tripped you up, too.
Perhaps. So we're talking Twins Team Hall of Fame, and we've put Roy Smalley in. We've put Sam Mealy in, and now we're going to put Brian Harper in. Brian Harper, kind of a supporting, but I don't want to sell him short, member of the 91 World Series team.
Mm-hmm.
Decent, like a pretty good prospect who seemed to be fumbled by the teams he was with. They didn't do him any favors. And then mid-20s, he finally gets a shot with the Twins and is seen as a good hitter. he didn't walk a lot, but he had a good batting average, hit some doubles, not huge power, not a great defensive reputation, but he did throw guys out pretty well at second. And he's also, I guess, maybe his most famous play as a Twin is taking the brunt of Lonnie Smith's charging into him in Game 4 of the World Series at home. Just a devastating looking play, amazing play. So many things going on in it. If you YouTube the Game 4 Lonnie Smith Brian Harper moment, which led to eventually Smith and Harper not shaking hands, but fist bump or whatever before Smith's next appearance in the World Series in '91. It was just it was a different time when runners would run over catchers at the plate, and it was just kind of a fun moment if you're able to not be concussed, I'm sure, for Brian Harper. But that's a guy who's, to me, it's pretty obvious. Whenever you can put a 91 Twin in the team's Hall of Fame, you should do it, and they should do it.
Tough World Series for Lonnie Smith, by the way. He gets deked out of the pivotal run there late in Game 7, right? I mean, they did the thing where Knobloch pretended to be feeding Gagne for the double play, and I mean, brilliant baseball play as long as you expect.
Lonnie Smith famous for misadventures on the bases, not just that series,
right? And so that, I mean, just tough series in general. Brian Harper, I was trying to figure it out because when the Twins signed him, he was 28, or going into his age 28 season. He was coming off a year with Oakland in '87 where he had played in 11 games, 19 games a year before that. There's a fairly reasonable chance he was a minor league signing, right? Like a minor league deal,
I would say.
Invite to spring training, because there was a thing going around. I think this might have been before you had joined the show, where I was trying to figure out who the best minor league free agent signing in Twins history was. And you can only go so far back where you feel like you know exactly the terms that a guy has signed to. And so Willie Castro is obviously on that list. Jared Burton, was a really good reliever for a couple years. Casey Fiend was a really good reliever for a couple years. If Harper wasn't a minor league free agent, and I would be shocked that he wasn't, he's got to be on that list. OPS pluses of for the years he was with the Twins: 114, 119, 107, 111, 109, 107. Then he flips over to the Brewers. They play him both in the outfield and behind the plate. He has a cup of coffee with the A's in '95, and that's a wrap. The Twins got out of the Brian Harper business when the getting was good, but man alive, he was a really nice player for them while he was on that team.
That's good. I wonder if Terry Ryan might help us with how they got him.
So here, 12.3 career Baseball Reference WAR. Guess how many of them came with the Twins? This is a trick question.
12.4.
13.4.
Well, I got your joke. So
he was about a -1-ish player WAR, one more at all his other stops combined. So the Twins were good for Brian Harper, and Brian Harper was good for the Twins.
Let me read from you his Wikipedia, a couple things from Wikipedia about Brian Harper. My favorite lines from this: despite his career year, the small market Twins decided they could not afford Harper. Where have you heard that before? And his $2.4 million contract salary behind the plate.
After 94.
Too expensive.
After 93?
Yes, after 93.
Because there's a line in the no-hitter that I was telling you about where he's playing right field for the Brewers in 94, and Dick Bramer says, the Twins didn't pick up his option, and he found the marketplace a little frigid or a little soft. Ends up signing a 1-year deal with the Brewers where he made $1 million. So he made 2.4 with the Twins in 93, 1 million with the Brewers in 94. And that was an ugly, ugly year. Lasted through the year. And then again, a little bit of time with the A's the next year. But by the time he left the Twins, that was pretty much it for Brian Harper, which it was a real shame.
He packed a lot into the middle of his career. He was a 2-time World Series dude, though, and he contributed to the Cardinals in '85, winning the World Series, and then like 2 years go by before the Twins end up picking him up. So it's just a strange career. And this is what Bill James wrote about it in his new historical baseball abstract. This poor Bill James kind of went off the reservation a little bit.
Well,
Harper's career could have been much more. He should have had a much better career than he did. He lost a lot of his career to other people's stupidity. He was drafted by the Angels in '77, blah, 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 blah. The Angels traded him to Pittsburgh. The Pirates already had Tony Pena and Steve Nicosia. They needed another catcher like they needed a first baseman. Harper tried to convert to the outfield, as you mentioned later, too, or first base. He wasn't fast enough to play the outfield. Nobody was sure he would hit enough to play first base. So he was kind of a tweener, but made a great career for himself, and also is a key. You know, he's not Kirby Puckett, but he's important to the '91 Twins.
how funny is that? He might not be fast enough to play the outfield in 1981, but let's try it in 1994. You know,
Right?
Okay, and you see him chasing a ball at the Metrodome in that game, and it's so painful. Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah. So he made the most of it when he got his opportunity with the Twins, and that was a key find for them, a good supplementary player, and I think he's a complimentary player, or both, and he belongs to the Twins Hall of Fame. So
Yes, he does.
and there are more names. I'm not even going to go into them, but like Scott Erickson, not a lot of WAR, but Kevin Tapani, Escanaba, Michigan. That's almost Twins territory. I guess that's more Brewers.
He still lives in the Twin Cities.
Right. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Twins. For Brandon Warren, I'm Dave Brown saying we are going to Alexei Casilla not in the Twins Hall of Fame tomorrow night.